with your award-winning host, Dale Davidson. Dale interviews fascinating guests, from top-ranked celebrities to people just like you who have an important story to tell. For more than 15 years, Dale is broadcast every week from the fabulous Las Vegas Strip. He finds the people who really make Las Vegas a one-of-a-kind city and lets the world know just what's happening in this remarkable town. You'll discover why 50 million people visit the entertainment capital of the world every year. Stay tuned for another exciting episode of Las Vegas Tonight.
Welcome to Las Vegas Tonight. I'm your host, Dale Davidson. Thank you for tuning in, and you're going to be glad you did. Jamie Morris is with us. He's a new Christian, and he's going to talk a little bit about how he came to Christ. We'll get his backstory. He's got a very interesting one. I heard you on a podcast with our mutual friend Lance Parvin.
Thank you.
I listened to the whole thing, and I went, wow, this guy's got a great story. And so I contacted our mutual friend Lance and said I'd love to have him on the show. He said, well, by coincidence, we're going to be in Las Vegas next week. And I said, terrific, bring him in. So here you are.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, you bet. Let's start with your backstory, if you don't mind. Tell us a little bit about where you grew up and about your family situation and that sort of thing.
Okay. I'm from New Jersey, southern New Jersey. I basically grew up all around New Jersey. My mom, she was a bartender, so we traveled, we moved around a lot. My father left before I was born, so I went through quite a few stepfathers. My first stepfather, his last name was Habib. So for 30 years, my last name was Habib.
Really?
He's Syrian Lebanese.
Yeah.
Great man. We lived in Boston at that time until I was like 5. I was born in New Jersey, but we moved to Boston for 5 years. So that's where I started out. We moved back to New Jersey. I basically got raised in a bar. It was a scene. That was the scene, the bar scene, the party scene. My mom, which she was very loving, single mother.
Yeah.
And, with men in our lives, but mostly I was raised by my mom and my aunts.
Her sisters lived nearby?
Yeah. Sometimes we needed some places to stay, and my aunts would take us in. My grandmother, we'd live in different apartments, different boyfriends or whatever, whoever we were with, she was with at that time. It was. There was a lot of moving around, so it was hard to adjust. I was a lonely kid.
Really sounds like it. Yeah. Why wouldn't you be?
Yeah, I was. Yeah. And I was sad a lot. And like I said, my mom was everything to me.
Yes.
She had a drinking problem, a drug problem, but I didn't see anything but love for her. She was my mom.
Yeah, sure.
And there were just some elements that came into life.
Yeah.
That a kid around, when you're 6, 7, 8 years old, there are other forces that come into this world.
Sure.
There was some evil that came into our lives because of the drinking and the drugs and the alcohol, the bar scene, the party scene, the scene that happens after the bar.
Yeah, closes.
Yeah, the people that are in that lifestyle.
Yeah.
So that sometimes leaks out into, the family life, which which wound up being me at times.
Yeah, and you saw things you shouldn't have seen at your age and all that.
And at that time, when you're a child, you don't know any better.
Yeah.
And that's life. And there were some inappropriate times for an 8-year-old.
Yeah.
And I unfortunately had to experience some uncomfortable sexual experiences.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, the party scene, the drug scene, and at the time it didn't affect me as much. It made me close off more. It made me more of a quiet child.
Lonelier than you were.
Yeah, lonely, having a hard time associating with other people.
Sure.
Most of my best friends are my cousins. Yeah. Like I said, I moved around all the time, so it was hard to really get friends that stick.
Yes.
Because every time you make a friend, you're moving to another apartment complex, you're moving to another town. I think I was 4 different elementary schools. Some of them I went to twice, 3 times.
Really?
2 different junior highs, 4 different high schools.
Yeah.
So, like I said, I was always moving around.
That's hard.
Yeah, and
You're not grounded at all.
No,
way.
it's and I didn't think anything of it because that's life.
Yeah.
That was life.
For you.
Yeah, and we lived on welfare, and like I said, a lot of times we were homeless and we had to live with other people.
Right.
And there were fun times too, because when you're a kid, you think that's fun. Adults are treating you differently. When you're in a bar scene, and sometimes I was spending nights sleeping at the bar. Because my mom had to work. Sometimes I'd be there when I was younger.
Yeah.
But I mean, with the good times, there was those dark times as a child, and you don't know that they're dark times until you look back at it as you're older and you see those dark times, and you're like, why did that happen?
Yeah, that shouldn't have happened.
And it's tough because the people that you think that are supposed to love you are the ones that are hurting you.
Yeah.
So it kind of takes you has that distance with people, and it started that way. It started that distance in the uncomfort with people.
Yeah.
And and plus because it was my mom and some women, I had a hard time with women, in the future. But as a child, like I said, it was just I just was disconnected.
Yeah. Well, I can see where you'd have a trust issue.
Yeah.
With adults, especially. Is your mom still with us?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And what's your relationship?
Oh, we
with
have
her
a great relationship. I actually just talked to her before this, and I told her, I'm doing this show, and I said I love you, and my mom had to go through a lot of the same things as a child herself.
Yeah.
And and you see it a lot, and with kids, their parents live the same life, and it's just the repetition of life. That recycling of Mom had things that happened to her.
Yeah, sure.
And then you don't ever want that for your child. But when you're in that state of drugs and alcohol, you're kind of blind to things that are going on, and with other people doing things, and you're so wrapped up in that toxic world that you're blind to things. You're blind to seeing what's going on with your child.
Yeah, toxic is a good word for this.
And like I said, to me it was normal.
Yeah.
And
Did your mom hear your podcast that you did with Lance, by any chance?
I don't know. Actually, I have to ask her.
I was just kind of curious what her reaction was.
Yeah.
Because you were kind of telling the same story, and I wondered whether she was okay with you talking about it.
Yeah, I mean, we started, it's been about 3 years that we've had a really good relationship. And it was a long strain. I'm 45.
Yeah.
And there was a long, she was an addict for a long time, so I got to a point where I didn't want to have a relationship with her. I completely shut her off.
When people are like that, you can't.
Because I have a wonderful wife. I have 2 wonderful children.
That's great.
And the lifestyle was different, but it turned out to be the same result.
How do you mean?
The drugs.
Oh.
Because of the sense, the lost feeling that I had.
Yeah.
That left a lot of emptiness and sadness, anger.
So you were trying to fill that hole with drugs and alcohol.
Yeah, and I didn't know how. And it believe me, I was at this point. Let me go back. I had a lot of greatness. I should say, compared to my youth. I had greatness. I had rough times.
Yes.
My teenage years that's when I started partying, like 7th, 8th grade, 9th, 10th. But I was also an athlete, so it was like a little mix, you hang out and then you're getting in fights, and at that time, we were doing street fights, it's like, you're hitting people with, bars, and in some of the areas I lived in, we fought a lot.
Yeah.
That's how I learned how to fight. That's actually how I got into martial arts. The
tell
love
us
for
about
martial
that.
arts.
When did you start martial arts?
I started martial arts actually. Well, my mom would always put me in those 1 month, the 1 month trial.
Yeah.
And then after 1 month, then you had to pay. So she would move me from one place to another. So I do a little 1 month here, 1 month there. But I never got to be planted into a martial art. So it never became a big thing. So I played football. And don't get me wrong, I had some good stepfathers. I had I had one stepfather. He was Jewish, a Russian Jewish man.
Yeah.
Big bear.
Yeah.
So loving. He was very tough on me.
Yeah.
He came into my life, I guess it was like I'm sorry, about maybe 9 years old.
Okay.
And that was actually after a lot of things happened to me with a couple situations with the sexual situations that I went through.
Oh, okay.
But when he came into my life, I never loved a man knew love from a man, like a fatherly love.
Right.
And when he came into my life, I was very conflicted as a kid, and I had clung to my mom, but then there was that deception, that felt of deceit.
Yeah, right.
So when he came into our life, he was just this. Plus, he was like I said, he was grounded in a Jewish family.
Sure.
And a very strict family.
Yeah.
But he was just tough but loving.
Yeah. There are a lot like that, and some boys especially need a dad like that. Yeah.
And I needed that at the time.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, that was met in a bar scene. He wanted my mom to be a housewife.
Right.
And she didn't want to be a housewife. She wanted to party.
Yeah, she wanted to work in the
Yeah,
bar.
and that was, and it was tough because I loved him so much, but I couldn't keep him.
Yeah.
And that's a part of a lot of animosity that I had for her because I loved him. And even though we still kept very close, she would move me to another apartment, another man. So it just kept building up anger.
Yeah, sure. Sure.
So there was a lot of anger as I was building up into my teenage years.
Yeah. Did you ever see that stepfather again?
Yeah, he was in my life for a long time.
Oh, was he?
Unfortunately, he passed away.
Oh, okay.
I'll get to that in a little bit. And that's he used to rough me up, like fun.
Yeah.
And he's like, that's how he got me into fighting.
Oh, really?
Okay. He used to put those remember those pink rubber balls they used to get? He used to put it in his sock and we'd have sock wars. And he used to tell me if you can take it from me, you can take it from anybody. So
that's one way to bring a kid up. Yeah.
And I never had fear when it came to fighting.
Yeah.
Maybe it was the other things that happened to me.
Yeah.
But I was numb to fear of that stuff. So I never was worried about somebody, fighting me. So that kind of set me on the path of where I got with martial arts.
Yeah.
To where I am now.
How old were you when you started it in earnest?
That would be when I got to prison.
Oh, okay.
So
tell us about that.
Oh, yeah. When I was like I said, when I was in junior high, I started, I was getting in. I started with weed.
Right.
And at 13, I was born in '75, so this is in I guess the '80s, early or '90s actually, early '90s. So things were starting to oh, it's weed, and so that was the start, and then some little cocaine here, shrooms, LSD. So I was a teenager partying. It wasn't like a regular thing, but it was kids partying, and and not to say that's a good thing, but it happens. Kids experiment.
Sure,
so that was my experimental age.
Sure.
So we lived with a lady, and she was with a particular motorcycle club in that state, and certain clubs they have that stigma of what they do with drugs, guns. The one lady that we lived with, she had an arsenal, and I decided just to take some stuff out of that arsenal, and I did an armed robbery. I did it at a train station. Me and two other gentlemen.
Yeah.
And
how old were you then?
I was 18.
18. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I that was a big wake up, and I grew up in a very diverse neighborhood.
Yeah.
So
got along with everybody.
Yeah. So when I went to prison, it wasn't a racial issue. I always got along with everybody.
Yeah.
I've always had that personality. I'm soft spoken. I'm quiet, and even though I was angry, I was still my demeanor. People just for some reason.
Yeah.
So even when I was in prison, I didn't have many issues. I had a few issues, but but in general, I didn't have many issues.
Yeah.
I got to meet a lot of people, a lot of different cultures, and I got to learn boxing from a couple gold gloves, some Dominicans that were just outstanding. They just
Great fighters.
I actually have a tattoo, which is it's a boxer with this guy Duckman. It was back in the '90s. There was a cartoon called Duckman.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, and I had this this floppy hair that was shaved around here, and I dyed it red. I look goofy. So yeah, and they called me, "You look like Duckman." So I have a tattoo with the Duckman with boxing gloves.
Duckman.
Yeah, so I spent most of my time in prison. I got to learn Kempo, a little Kempo, a lot of boxing. So that's really where it started, because, like I said, I was only doing 1 month trials.
Yeah.
And now I was getting some, like, every day you're in prison, that you had nothing else to do. Push-ups, read, play cards, and learn.
Yeah.
So I was learning, learning boxing and some Kempo.
Yeah. We need to take a brief break.
Okay.
Wow, what a great story this man has. Jamie Morris is with us. We're up to the point in his life where he is pretty well known as a martial artist, right?
I hope so.
Yeah,
getting there.
And we'll talk some more about that. We'll be back with Las Vegas Tonight right after this. Hi, I'm Dale Davidson, host of Las Vegas Tonight. Radio has an enduring place in the heart of America. Sometimes it's music that can enliven your spirit or keep you company when you need some. More often for me, it's just been the right spoken word or two that can quiet my mind and soul. Radio brings me a reassuring word in the quiet of night, or a welcoming voice early in the morning as I shake off the night's sleep and find my way into God's purpose for my day. And always, I find the best radio station is the one that brings me the best news, the gospel of Jesus Christ. My favorite radio station is KKVV in Las Vegas, Nevada. It's still right where it's been for years, at 1060 on the AM dial, hovering over Sin City like a gospel airship, broadcasting the good news of the abounding love that Jesus Christ has for every single one of us. No matter who you are or where you live, you can receive God's Word via the KKVV Gospel Airship. Just go to kkvv.com and click on Listen Live. KKVV is using all the tools that God's provided them, like podcasting and video streaming and video on demand, to produce programs that lift up our fellow believers and save the lost. If you feel a calling to speak to others about Jesus Christ on your very own show, pick up the phone and call the station. They'll be happy to tell you how. Call KKVV today at 702-731-5588 or drop them an email at kkvvradio@hotmail.com. Please join me in becoming part of the KKVV family. You'll be glad you did. Welcome to Las Vegas Tonight. I'm your host, Dale Davidson. We've had a wonderful time in our first segment with Jamie Morris, talking about his life, which is pretty fascinating. So there you are in prison. What state were you in?
New Jersey.
In New Jersey,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I tell you what, prison is very educational.
I'll bet.
It's, like I said, you learn a lot about culture. I learned more about culture in prison than I did anywhere ever.
Really?
Like no matter what you see in a TV show, whether you're in it.
Right.
I was celled up with a lot of organizational leaders. So I really got to see how other people live.
Yeah. And it's a living organism.
Yeah, it is. But you also see that there's a lot of people in prison that love. They just had unfortunate situations, and they were born into unfortunate situations.
Yes.
And you could see the love, even when you're like visits. You see a father with his child.
Right.
Even with his wife coming. People make mistakes, and some
Sure.
people make some really bad mistakes.
Yes.
But there's a lot of people in there that just they were disheartened, and they had just so many things happened to them, and they wound up there.
Yeah.
I used to translate, the Spanish. I would do poems for guys when they send home to their girlfriends.
Yeah.
And some of the guys in there, like some of the Puerto Rican gentlemen they were great artists, just amazing artists.
Wow. Wow.
And it's just there's a lot of these guys have so much talent.
Yes.
And they're they're in their situation, and and they're from these areas where all they have to go back to is drug dealing, or whatever they were doing, and they, a lot of them didn't have any hope.
Yeah.
And it's.
So how old were you when you got out?
I was about 23, 24.
Okay, so you were in there for a while.
Yeah, it was 4 years.
Yeah.
4 years. Yeah. I got sentenced when I was 19. So.
So yeah.
But it was a miracle also. So I met my wife.
Is that right?
My wife was my pen pal.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, one of the guys I was celled up with, it was my last year, and I was in this thing called minimum security, so we had a lot more freedom.
Yeah.
As much as you could probably get in prison. But I met a guy. He was actually from a town that I lived in, and he dated a girl. And I didn't have a girlfriend. I had a girlfriend when I started in there, but it didn't last because I was young. So he was like, "Can I get you somebody to write?" So he wrote the girl. She got a friend to write me, and then she got tired of writing me. And the girl that was writing my cellmate, he got tired of writing her. So what I did is like, I need somebody to write. So I'll write the letters, and you sign them.
Wow.
And this girl I was writing is now my wife. So
that's a great story.
Yeah.
Cyrano de Bergerac is what that is.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I tell you what, it's one of the miracles of my life. My wife, she has an amazing family. Her mom when I went to a halfway house, and her mom used to bring me. It was in Camden, New Jersey,
Yes,
and there's
I know
this
where that
Rutgers
is,
College is right next to the halfway house I was in.
Yeah.
And so I was allowed to go to the library to get access to books and have time away from the halfway house. I was a violent criminal, so I couldn't go home on furloughs.
Yes.
So I was only allowed to go to either school or like the DMV or to the college to the library. So her mom would bring her to visit me, believe it or not, like I'm a prisoner. You're bringing your daughter to see a prisoner.
She's got a big heart.
Oh, she did, and she was such an amazing woman. And unfortunately, she passed on my wife when she was 18.
Yeah.
So she passed very young.
Yeah.
So I didn't really get to spend much time with her. But she was amazing, and I came home, and her dad and her uncle play the tough guy role with me, you're playing a tough guy with a guy who just came home from prison, But they were such an awesome family. The family
they
unit
wanted the best.
It was like what I always thought a family was supposed to be like.
Yeah.
And it was just amazing. And I came home to her, and it was amazing. I got into being an electrician. Her dad took me in.
Oh, okay.
He sent me to school. I went to 4 years of electrical school, became a journeyman electrician.
Wow.
And then her uncle, the other one who wanted to, straighten me out, he's like, "Why don't you go to line school?" So I was like, "What's a lineman?"
A lineman at the electric
he's like, "See the
company."
towers and all, I was like, "That'd be cool." So I went to school for 3.5 years to be a lineman. So I came up from prison. I did 7.5 years of schooling.
Wow.
And became a lineman. I was going all over the country for doing storm work. It was amazing.
Yeah, I worked for an electric company for a while, and I had great admiration for you guys who were on the trouble crews.
Oh yeah.
Because lightning is flashing and wires are sizzling all over the blacktop, and there you are.
Yeah.
Rest of us are hiding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and always hats off to the old linemen out there. I mean, if everything would happen in Texas, they were all out there helping to get everybody back up. So
they
they're
came
helping.
from all over. They came from Nevada to help there.
Yeah. God
so
bless them.
how long did you do that? Did you work at the electric company?
Well, I was a contractor at that time. I was a union contractor. I worked with all different I had an opportunity to get into the local power company, and it was at that time I had my kids had come. And I wanted to be home more.
Yeah,
I was working, because when I was a contractor, sometimes I was just working so much, and I was always traveling. I had an opportunity to go to the power company, and it was local, so I took that. I wound up getting
reasonable hours.
Yeah, reasonable hours, closer to home.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I got hurt.
Oh, you did.
Yeah, I hurt my back. A piece of equipment snapped my neck a little bit. I knocked me out. The supervisor had to take me to the hospital, and painkillers came into the picture.
Oh yeah, sure.
You know, many of you know once
Once that starts.
Yeah, and you get the doctors. They start prescribing you. Oh, it doesn't work anymore. I'll give you some more, and I'll give you some more. I'll give you some more. And it was just like anytime. Oh, okay, I'll give you 6 a day. I'll give you 8 a day, or whatever it got to.
That's caused the whole problem.
Yeah, and that's where it started.
Yeah.
And when you're in pain, you're miserable.
Yeah.
And those painkillers, they made you feel good.
Yeah.
You're no pain. You're smiling. And then it psychologically changes you. And now you're thinking you're happy. That's the way you got to stay happy, is that.
Just take the drugs.
Yeah. So, and it was legal. So, when you're taking legal drugs, it's okay.
Yeah.
So that's what your mindset is. Like, oh, it's okay because doctor's prescribing
the
it.
Elvis Presley syndrome.
Yeah. And you're not thinking it's a bad thing. So I'll just keep doing it.
Yeah.
And at that time, I had met Lance when I think it was a contractor still. And that's when I started. I've been coming here for about 10 years.
Oh, okay.
So I met Lance out in California for a JKD seminar.
What's that?
Jeet Kune Do. I did Jeet Kune Do, Bruce Lee's art.
Okay.
So we met out there. He invited me to Las Vegas. I got to meet with him. My teacher, Guru Ariel Moses. That's where my love, like Filipino martial arts, is my love.
Filipino martial arts.
Yeah. So I got involved with that. Got involved with Lance, and everything's still great. But I'm still on the painkillers at this time.
Yeah.
So even all my flights back and forth, training, painkillers. So because I want to keep up, I want to keep training.
Right.
I want to keep working. I want to keep being happy. So it was like, to keep that momentum going, I had to keep doing those painkillers.
Right.
So it was just that cycle, it just kept going. And if I wanted to maintain, I had to keep doing the painkillers. So everything's great. At least I thought everything was great.
Yeah.
The painkillers were starting to make me more angry, and started to get more depressed. And I was the pain in my back had gotten worse. My working had, I was miserable to work.
Yeah.
I got into doing being a trouble man, and so then I was like a little less work. But then I was getting tired of the painkillers, and somebody introduced me to crystal meth.
Right.
And that was the most wonderful thing at the time. I thought it was the greatest thing ever.
Yeah.
Because if you know anybody who's ever done crystal meth,
yes,
it just you're happy.
Euphoric all the time.
Yeah. So no pain, because it just any pain you had is just gone now. Because it was like a painkiller and a mood changer. So and I wasn't doing it daily, but I did it as needed.
Yeah.
But of course, as needed became more needed. Yeah. So.
And it's hard to judge at that point because your brain chemistry's been changed.
Yes.
Been altered.
Yeah. And then I moved into supervision.
Yeah.
And also I was also involved with medical marijuana also.
Yeah.
So it was medical marijuana. It was the crystal meth, and still some painkillers here. But I had gotten away from the doctor, but still it appeared here and there.
Sure.
But the crystal meth was enough to just erase everything.
Yes.
It was erasing a lot more than I thought too, because now I'm a supervisor.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to maintain.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to maintain the sanity. And I thought it was a very intelligent. I loved doing this career. It was the greatest career. I love the career. If I wasn't banged up, and I would have loved to have been a lineman still.
Yeah.
But we are where we are.
They're all good people.
Yeah. And great guys. So it was, like I said, it was a great career. But I was just going downhill. I wound up quitting.
Oh, good.
I couldn't handle the pressure anymore. I was getting angry at everything.
Yeah.
And then I always felt like people were like going behind my back trying to get me in trouble. So I was getting paranoid.
Yeah.
And you're stuck in that.
Drugs will do
you're
that,
stuck in there, and you don't realize it.
Yeah.
And people don't want to say anything to you. And my wife, and I was hiding this a lot too.
Trying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she would see the residuals, but I wasn't going home and doing drugs in front of my wife and kids.
Right.
And she knew something was going on, but I was like, oh, yeah, I snorted some painkillers. So I just tell her, it was just painkillers. So I wasn't telling her it was anything else except that, There was coke in there too. So it's like, she didn't see that. The kids didn't see that. Not like the way I saw things. Needles, lines on the mirror when I came home from school or whatever. So, it was a trying time, and I went from, nothing, house to house, apartment to apartment, to prison, then to this great career, and then it just nosedived. So it was such a, my life has been such an up and down. And all this time I'm like searching. Like I said, I explored Islam because my family, the Lebanese family, Habib, of course you're gonna let's see, explore that, Judaism, because my stepfather, I used to go to synagogue. That was really strange for me because everybody's speaking, Hebrew, and I was like, we're going, it was interesting. It was great though, you get the cookies after, it's like, so it was great because that family they were such a loving family too. They were just a great family. Yeah. But I'll go back a little bit. My wedding to my wife, my stepfather, the Jewish stepfather I had, he passed away the day before. Oh. And him and I had gotten in an argument. Oh. Something dumb. Yeah. So I didn't talk to him for 2 weeks. Just something dumb. Yeah. And then at the wedding, when we were done, actually, I'll tell you this. When my wife when my father-in-law took my wife out of the car for the limo to get ready to get married, the wedding planner whispered in his ear, the groom's father, he passed away. So my father-in-law had to hold that in, the whole wedding, the whole reception. And oh
Lord,
excuse me. And then after the wedding, we went back to his house, and he sat me down. And he's like, "Son, I'm sorry, your pop passed away."
Lord.
I'd say, I get choked up a little because he was, I miss him every day. He wasn't even my biological father.
He was good to you though.
But I loved him so much, and
he was your dad.
Yeah, and man, I think. So many times I wish I had him, especially in the past. I've been fully recovered for 2 years, but in those times, wow, I prayed for him, because I needed him, I needed his guidance, and that's the thing I missed. I didn't have that guidance, and I didn't trust my mom to help guide me, and my father-in-law, he's a great man, but he didn't grow up the way I grew up, He was
he doesn't really know what you're talking
it was hard to talk to somebody who can't relate. And that was always my big issue because I was always around people who couldn't relate to me. Yeah. And that was why it was so disconnecting to me. And that's why it was always sad and lonely because I never felt like I had that. And my best friend, my cousin, he had moved away, but we were also involved in the drugs too. Yeah. But he was my best friend and he moved away. So it was tough. So I was really lonely for a long time.
Really hard. But we're going to hear the solution here shortly. Mm-hmm. We'll be back with Jamie Morris right after these brief messages.
Let me tell you what love can do.
Even though I haven't met love yet,
I would recognize it at first glance.
Love is serenading me with a guitar and singing all my Bollywood songs.
Love walked in with a pink dupatta on the first day of college.
I know what love can do.
I know what love can do.
Maybe I'm looking at it in the wrong place. The love I was looking for finally showed up.
Love acknowledges me based on what I bring.
Love didn't like Bollywood songs anymore.
Love hates the real me.
I tried my best to keep this love.
But it changed.
It faded away.
I feel ashamed of myself.
I don't think I can be loved or belong to someone.
One day, unexpectedly, love came to me. I barely recognized it.
Love looked different and accepted me as I am.
This love is Jesus. He made me in His image and bought me with His blood.
He showed me that He died for me, and the blood that was spilled had my name on it.
This is the purest form of love I have ever seen. He tells me I am loved. when I'm looking to others for acceptance.
He tells me I am loved when nothing feels right.
He tells me I am loved when I'm waiting for someone else to love me.
Jesus still loves you no matter what.
Don't harden your heart.
Love
Him again.
Welcome back to Las Vegas Tonight. I'm your host, Dale Davidson. We have Jamie Morris with us, who's a terrific man. He's been telling us his backstory, which has really been pretty fascinating. And we've come up to where he's married and really not doing that well with his life.
Yeah.
Go on from there. Tell us.
Well, yeah, like I was saying, wonderful family. My wife and kids.
Yeah.
I can't say enough about them.
That's great.
My son is a talented athlete. My daughter, smart. She's 16. She's working. She's she's on the varsity volleyball team.
Wow.
Plays different sports. She's just such an intelligent young woman. I mean, she's at that point. If she was able to move out now, she's mature enough to be able to do something like that. And my wife, you know, we've been just. I can't say enough about my wife. You know, talk about the Lord brought me, you know, and her. He brought her to me. The Lord brought her to me. It's I could never imagine being with any other woman because of, you know, it just chokes me up thinking about how much I love my wife. Yeah,
that's good.
Because with everything that happened, she's still with me. You know?
That's love.
Yeah,
that's what love's like.
Unconditional.
Yeah, that's the best kind.
Yeah.
Talk about how you came to Christ, which is a fairly recent occurrence, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me about that.
Yeah. I consider myself an atheist because, you know, I searched through Islam,
Right.
Buddhism.
Right.
I learned Buddhism when I was in prison. I met a Buddhist. I learned a lot. I was a Tibetan Buddhist, so I learned about that. Yeah. I spent some time in Buddhism, and people joke with me like, "Oh, which religion are you this time, Jay?" You know, and it's like, yeah. So, you know, sometimes that goes. I was fighting it. You know, I'm like, you know, angry atheist. You know.
Yeah. Always pleasant to be around.
Yeah, you know, and don't get me wrong, I've always been nice and respectful, and even with other I never really bashed other religions. Anybody who was Christian I'd never be disrespectful that way because my stepfather, he was great. He instilled those things in me. I wasn't disrespectful. I was angry.
Yeah.
I wanted to smash somebody's face in.
Yeah.
Especially people who hurt people.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go out and try to hurt people just to hurt people, but I hated people who wanted to hurt people.
You were protective.
Yeah. So that was my goal, and that was one of the reasons I got into martial arts. You know, because number one, I never wanted anybody to hurt me again.
Right.
And then I don't like seeing other people hurt people.
Yeah.
You know, the weak getting beat down by these, you know, to people that just are mean, you know, hateful, evil. Continuing training with Lance, training FMA, just kept going, you know, but I was still in that darkness, you know. I thought I knew everything. I thought I knew the answers. You know, I always went to science and this, that, and the other, and not taking away from science. Science brought us many, you know, lots of great things. I mean, you know, so
sure.
I'm not against science. I always used that as my thing, you know. But that didn't bring me any peace. You know, that doesn't bring me peace knowing, you know, so I couldn't find that peace. That was what I was searching for. The religions, you know, I think the religion wasn't giving me peace, you know, I just didn't know, you know, I didn't know where to go. So I'm trying to hold on to life. I'm trying to hold on to training and my students. You know, I got a group that I train.
Yeah,
and they all went through this too.
Yeah.
So I'm hiding it from them.
Yeah.
I'm putting this facade on. You know, hey, everybody, I got this big smile on my face, you know.
Everything's good.
Yeah, but behind that, I'm just dying inside. And I didn't know what to do. And then this Lance just chirping in my ear, you know.
He's done
Find
this
Jesus.
for a lot of people.
You know, and I'm, you know, and he's you know, he's being patient with me, you know, and it's like, hey man, you need to find it. Jesus is the way, you know, and I'm like, dude, you're an atheist. You were an atheist too. You're like, you know, and I'm like,
What happened to you?
Yeah, when he was an atheist, and him and I were just like, jiving on things, and we're training, and we're just like, how can you kill somebody with this knife, and whatever, so whatever, it's so
That's funny.
Yeah, it's and like I said, it wasn't all horrible. Like I said, it was like the facade, the darkness on the side that I didn't let anybody see. That's where I was wallowing.
You're having fun,
but I was still, trying to, live that good life, and everybody sees the good life that I was living, but it wasn't. So, it's like, what's the definition of insanity? Trying to do the same thing over and over, expecting a different result,
That's right, yeah.
And it just through conversations and just like I said, with in this case, Lance being patient with me and kind of just like give me a little bit here and there, and I'll give you how I really found Christ.
Yeah, I want to hear.
Last August,
okay,
I was here.
You were here in Vegas.
Yeah, and Lance and Ray and Guru Ariel Moses and his wife Vel and Guru Dino, and we had a group, and we went to Utah. And something happened to me in Utah. And I joke with people, I found God in Utah. We were driving through, we went from Vegas, we drove through Arizona, and
right.
It's
a nice trip. It's pretty country.
And I love mountains. I used to do the Appalachian Trail. Like I did a lot of great things. I would hike, with my wife's family. They brought me hiking, Appalachian, like 4-day treks and stuff like that. We did that ride, and I was just watching from Red Rock into the mountains in Arizona, and I just drawn the mountains.
Yeah.
I'm drawn to the sky, the mountains and the way that the sky,
it's beautiful.
The silhouettes that
God's creation.
Yeah, and it's
like a cathedral.
Yeah, and I was just watching how you got the rock, and then there's a little greenage on the rocks in Arizona, and then when you got to Utah, these beautiful green covered mountains. At least where we went, I can't remember where we went, but it was just I don't know, it was just.
Peaceful.
I felt that calm, and it was. I couldn't explain it, and I was still in turmoil, and I didn't know what it was at first, and I was. Oh, my son came with me also. So he was with me. Yeah. So it was, and I felt something, and like I said, I didn't know what it was, but it was a release, Mm-hmm. And so then I'm like, what is it? In my head, I'm like, we drove from, and I didn't talk much because I was processing it.
Yeah, what does this all mean?
Yeah. And I didn't ask for it at that time, I look back and I was like, God's like, hey, I'm here, So I feel God said, hey, I'm here. So as I was processing it, and talking to some of my teachers, I just it started happening. Talking to Lance more, talking to some of my teachers, and just I needed to know, and I was still not there yet.
Yes.
And I finally got to that point. I'm like, God help me, God please. And I got him. I got on my knees, and I was in tears, And I'm like, the overwhelming feeling. And this is when I got home, and when, like I said, when I really opened myself up, and I asked, I was like, Jesus, please, help me.
Yes.
I need you, and it was it. It was it.
It was that still small voice of God in your heart.
Yeah, and there was nothing.
Yeah.
And people, when the joke that everybody said to me is that, oh, what is it now? And I never felt that peace with anything, with Buddhism, with Islam.
You were looking for it, but didn't get it.
But like I said, I wasn't looking for it for the trip.
Yeah.
And even though Lance was in my ear about it for quite a few years by then,
Yeah.
And like I said, he was an atheist, so I was listening to another side of him too. And then, like I said, and then he kept, he put, the Lord put it in Lance's heart to help me,
Sure.
And then, so it was it, and that was a big transition.
Sure.
Because you went from an atheist, and your family is used to this, and now you're with the Lord.
Yeah.
And you're like, whoa, what? So you got family members like, whoa, friends, family, like, no, so that, and a lot of people didn't like that.
Yeah.
They wanted the party, Jamie. They wanted the, I didn't care, so I would say what I wanted to say.
Yeah.
And even though I wasn't mean, I still was like, like a Viking, a little bit, so I wanted to have that, and people stay away from me a little bit. And the people that were nice, but I still gave off that kind of vibe where I don't want you near me.
Right.
So, but yeah, it was clear. It was gone. And,
all of it. Yeah.
And the more I started reading scripture, it brought my wife to the Lord. And we never had dinner. We never sat down with dinner. We didn't have, except from when I was with my stepfather, we didn't have dinners. It was bar food. It was sitting on the couch eating at my grandmother's house, having cereal for dinner,
Right.
And now I have sit-downs with my family every night. We pray before we eat. These are things that didn't happen before. And I have no worries in life.
That's huge.
I don't worry about death. I don't worry about
That's huge.
anything. I just, putting that love, the love I have for Jesus, I just, it's something, when people explain to me, ask me, explain, I'm like, it's just love.
Yeah.
I never knew love like that, and the closest thing I thought love was with my pop and then with my wife and kids. But man, it's, the love of God is just, when it's trying to explain to somebody, you just know it, it's here. It's, and it was like I said, nothing like I've ever had before. And that's when I tell people, it's the truth. I can't, other than, telling you my experience and getting to that point,
right.
Just ask God, I just, and like I said, my kids are still adjusting.
Sure.
But it's just about me showing that, they see it. I mean, everybody sees it now.
Yeah.
So it's not even I had to go out like, hey, I'm Christian. Hey, everybody here's, look, everybody, I'm Christian, even though I like this shirt. So, but, I don't run around telling everybody, and I did make some statements in the beginning. I'm like, listen, I'm with the Lord now. So I'm not going to be, I'm not the same. I'm not going, the things that you used to see me do, like statements on Facebook or whatever like this. And I'm like, this is what my life's about now.
Yeah.
Like it or not, stay in my life or don't stay in my life.
Yeah.
But I'm at peace.
Yeah.
My relationship with the Lord, it grows every day. The more I learn scripture, the more this is the third time I've really done my testimony. So the more I open up and seeing, there's just miracles happening. And then I just, people are responding to what my testimony, and it's like I'm still a little overwhelmed by it. It's like, really, I didn't want people, because there's so many people in this world with so much turmoil, and and I feel like I shouldn't be complaining or what, but and then when people's like, no.
Yeah, what a great story, Lance. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow, Jamie's terrific, isn't he?
Thank you.
Jamie, have a look in this camera here, if you don't mind.
Hi, everybody.
And please address our audience. There are millions of people watching, and many don't know the Lord, and some are in the situation that you used to be in, with no peace. Yeah. Why don't you talk directly to them about the importance of Christ in their lives?
Hey, everybody. I'll just say I love the Lord. I don't know how else I would be alive still if it wasn't for the Lord. Suicide attempts, which I didn't mention, but I had a few suicide attempts. The drugs, and if you're, you need those answers. The chasing of the dragon, you're trying to find that that answer. It's only one answer. It's Jesus Christ. If you want to stop, looking, and you want to have you want to find that love again, and you want to have the love for your family, and you want to have the love for life, you only find that through the truth of Jesus Christ. And And if you just accept, I mean, just seek, and open yourself up, and let the Lord take you in. And I don't know any other way. And to me, there is no other way. I mean, it is the truth. It's the only truth. So please, if you have any questions, just if you want to go to your church or just talk to somebody, you can reach out to me. You can reach out to Brother Lance, Brother Ray, the Cultural Arts Foundation. We're there. You want to talk, I'll talk. If you want to talk, if you're having problems with drugs, I've dealt with it my whole life with my mom's addictions, and just if you want to help to find the Lord, and we can help guide you, and the Lord will find you if you need Him. And he'll love you, and he'll give you the peace that you're looking for, and that's the truth. I never believed that as an atheist. It's all I just love the Lord. It's all I can say.
That's wonderful. Thank you for talking to the folks.
Thank you.
And as Jamie mentioned, he is happy to have you reach out to him. His email address is ministryfma@yahoo.com. We've been putting all this stuff up on the screen anyway. Theculturalarts.org is the organization that he works with Lance on, the famous Lance we've been mentioning, Lance Parvin. He also, you help Lance with his podcast too, right?
Yeah, we have our podcast together, yes.
And that's called Hope and the Truth. So you can get that anywhere your finer podcasts are found. Mm-hmm. So thanks so much for coming on. Jamie Morris.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you
God
for having
bless
me.
you.
God bless you.
Yeah, he's had a wonderful life and a terrific, terrific testimony. You got to come back.
Thank you.
Got an open invitation.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Okay, you bet.
Awesome.
Thank you all so much for watching Las Vegas Tonight. I'm your host, Dale Davidson. And as I try to remember each and every episode to say this important thing when it comes to our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, please walk with Him. God bless you.
I learned that hope's everything. Like when you're pushed in every way to the end of your rope and you discover you're really alone in this world, really you are, without hope, everything goes. So it was Friday the 30th of September, and I was sitting at my computer, and this pain out of nowhere just turned on in my neck. Pretty soon I discovered that at 25 I was going to have open heart surgery. I put my iPod in, I cranked it to 100%, and all I do is focus on my breathing. After about 15 minutes, my eyes are closed. These thoughts, you're not going to make it, you're going to die, give up, it's over. I was so weak and I was under attack. Start praying. And that's when everything turned around. This hope came back 100 times stronger, and I had this rock solid titanium promise from God, for God's sake. You're getting out of this. Like there was not a shred of doubt. Like, I've never been so certain of anything in my life. Cut a long story short, within 4 days I was out of intensive care. My oxygen levels were 100%. I wasn't on a breathing mask. I was walking without a frame. Within 5-6 days I was out of the hospital. And I can literally trace it to that Wednesday when in my heart and my spirit something turned around, and then my body very quickly followed. When I lost my own hope, when I lost hope in everything else, the doctors, medicine, my body, the only thing that brought me back was my faith in God. So the faith then led to the hope, and once the hope came back, like I said, you can have hope in God, you can have faith in God, because He's God, man. He's a good God.
There's a voice that tells you what is right. You hear it often. It's unshakable. On the way home, in difficult situations, when you want to give in. Whether or not you choose to listen to it changes your life. Some call it your conscience, a gut feeling, or intuition. It's my voice, the voice of Jesus. It's there when you make a decision. Listen. Your life's destroyed when you choose to sin with what is wrong, and you know it. Ashamed, you ignore my voice and live in pain. But I love you and don't want you to suffer. I took your pain with me on the cross and died to set you free. Listen to my voice. It will save you. Remember, I am always there. Just speak my name.
Come on and shine, shine, shine. Las Vegas, shine your light on me.
You've been watching Las Vegas Tonight with your host, Dale Davidson. We hope you've enjoyed this edition of our show. We so appreciate your loyalty to our program. To keep Las Vegas Tonight on the air, please go to our website, vegassaints.org, and click the Donate button. To send a check or money order, please make it out to Dale Wynn Davidson Ministries and mail it to 9030 West Sahara Avenue, Suite 255, Las Vegas, Nevada, 89117. To suggest a guest to appear on the show or any other suggestions or questions, write to Dale at DaleWDavidson@yahoo.com or call him at 702-480-3989.
Shine, Las Vegas, shine your light on me.
What affects your credit? The answer can be many things. Let's take a look at a few of the most common factors and how they can impact your credit. Credit history. In order to have a credit score, you need to have open and active credit accounts. This gives you the opportunity to build a credit score and get approved for larger purchases such as a car or a home. So it's important to have a responsible record of debt repayment. Available credit and usage. The rule of thumb is to use 30% of your available credit to minimize the impact of debt on your credit score. In other words, the less credit you use, the better. Monthly on-time payments. By making sure your monthly payments are paid on time, you could boost your credit score. Late payments, however, may bring your score down. Errors on your credit report. Check your credit report regularly to make sure it's accurate. If there are any errors or signs of identity theft, report them immediately to the appropriate credit bureau. Applications for credit. If you're applying for credit, filling out several applications in a short amount of time may hurt your credit score. It's ideal to keep the applications to a minimum. However, there is an allowable shopping window for a mortgage. Remember, a good credit score could possibly save you in interest payments. If your credit score needs some improvement, however, consider starting with the basics mentioned here. And when you're ready to buy your dream home, give New American Funding a call. We'll help you find a home loan that works for you and your unique situation.
Traditional TV is going away. Hollywood is starting to fade. People are demanding real stories from real people. Our voices are now being heard in our own way. Podcasts, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and TikTok Live are becoming the norm. Internet TV has now reached the highest demand in human history. Social media shows is now the new media of the century.
Hi, I'm Deacon T with Modern Word Ministries. It's great to be with you today. Just a short little promo for our show. Every Sunday morning we have service, and you can follow us at 10 a.m. Pacific Time on modernwordministries.org. And if you missed us or you want to see some of our older messages, go ahead and check us out on socialmediashows.com every single morning at 9 a.m. It's a great way to kick off your day, get a little bit of the word in you, get something uplifting, get you started off on your way. You know, if you're looking for prayer or you need some help, reach out to us. If you go to our website, again, that's modernwordministries.org, you can interact with me via telephone, via DM, text message, whatever you want. I'll get right back to you. So if you need prayer, you need help, you just need somebody to talk to, Modern Word Ministries is here for you. We are your church in the community. So until you see you next time, be blessed, everybody. Bye-bye.
John is an employee at one of the most famous firms in the city of New York, so his job is very hectic, and he realized that it is necessary for him to go and finally take a vacation. But he went on a vacation without planning out the details, and wasn't able to truly enjoy where he went because he had to think about so many things that he didn't plan for. Instead of enjoying his time away from work, he came back with more stress that he was not able to take full advantage of his vacation. But this year, a coworker suggested him to try World Ventures this time to make his vacationing more enjoyable and less stressful. They do not require you to plan anything outside of your transportation, which is also available at discounted rates. Your stay, your transport, and many meals are planned by the club. John liked the idea very much. He tries World Ventures, and his experience with the club was amazing, as he made many friends there with whom he had a great time. John recommends that everyone should try this club, as they are the best in business. See how the VIP-vacation-club.com can give you the right experience without all the hassle. Enjoy the VIP experience that only World Ventures provide.
Now on digital and DVD.
Hit it.
Space Wars: Quest for the Deep Star is an epic sci-fi adventure.
Do what needs to be done.
An edge-of-your-seat wild ride.
We have company.
Tons of popcorn-munching fun. 5 stars. A love letter to the sci-fi films of the 70s and 80s. With plenty of action and fun for all. You need to see it. You really do.
The captain just decided it's time to go.
I am ready for a sequel. Experience a bold new adventure. Space Wars: Quest for the Deep Star.
A good old-fashioned adventure.
Now on digital and DVD.